In hip-hop, more artists have been killed than in any other music genre. But an equally significant tragedy is that rappers often face serious legal troubles. Let's recall some rappers who are currently in prison and why. Welcome to the Top Art Legends, C-Murder, case from 2002. C-Murder, born Corey Miller, rose to fame as a star rapper on his older brother Master P's No Limit Records label in the late 1990s and early 2000s. However, in 2003, he was sentenced to life imprisonment for the murder of 16-year-old Steve Thomas. So, what happened? On January 19, 2002, a young man named Steve Thomas was shot and killed at the Platinum Club in Las Vegas. According to witnesses, an argument broke out between C-Murder and Thomas, during which C-Murder allegedly pulled out a gun and fatally shot the underage Thomas at close range. Thomas succumbed to his injuries at the hospital, and C-Murder was arrested and charged with the crime. In 2003, a jury found C-Murder guilty of murder. In 2009, a new jury once again convicted Miller, and he was sentenced to mandatory life imprisonment. From the beginning, C-Murder has maintained his innocence and demanded a retrial on legal grounds, but no one seemed to care. And that's when things started to get interesting in this case. In 2018, two witnesses who had testified against C-Murder came forward and recanted their statements, declaring under oath that they had accused him under pressure. They signed affidavits claiming that C-Murder was not the shooter.
I want him to know I'm not upset with him, and I'm proud of him. And me and my family, my daughters, especially, hey, for real, I mean, it's a life.
C-Murder's attorney, Paul Barker, filed a motion to overturn the verdict and request a new trial. According to Barker, there was no direct evidence apart from the testimony of these two witnesses. However, on January 25, 2019, the judge denied the motion for a retrial, stating that the new evidence was insufficient to review the case. Absurd. It is clear that overturning a conviction, especially in Louisiana, is nearly impossible. Nevertheless, after more than 15 years in prison, Miller continues to fight for his freedom, and he is receiving support. In August 2020, Kim Kardashian, who is studying to become a lawyer, announced that she was joining Master P and others in their efforts to overturn C-Murder's conviction. 3 years later, Kim reaffirmed her belief in C-Murder's innocence in a statement she posted on Twitter. "I wanted to shed some light on a case that I've been working on for years. Corey Miller has spent 21 years in prison for a crime he did not commit, and his conviction is based entirely on the testimony of two men, whom the state dragged to trial just on material witness warrants. Those men have now sworn that their prior testimony was untrue." In February, C-Murder announced a hunger strike in protest against inhumane conditions and solitary confinement at the Elaine Hunt Correctional Center, where he is serving his life sentence. The rapper stated that his 3 daughters continue to give him hope as he fights for a new trial. Big Lurch, case from 2002. Big Lurch, real name Antron Singleton, didn't just rap about the typical themes of hip-hop culture. His lyrics often delved into the macabre, referencing serial killers like Jeffrey Dahmer and horror movie villains like Jason Voorhees and Freddy Krueger. This made him a prominent figure in a subgenre of hip-hop called horrorcore. But what did his disturbing lyrics ultimately lead to? On April 10, 2002, Singleton was arrested after police found him running naked and covered in blood on the street. Later, in his apartment, they discovered the body of Tynisha, a 21-year-old mother of 2 and Singleton's roommate. A medical examination revealed that Singleton had human flesh in his stomach that did not belong to him. Tynisha's boyfriend, who discovered her body, stated that he and Singleton had taken the drug PCP the day before the murder. Investigators concluded that Singleton had broken Tynesha's neck and jaw, shattered one of her eye sockets, cut open her chest, and removed her right lung.
I didn't know nothing about that. The next thing I remember is waking up in a room by myself.
Although Singleton pleaded not guilty during his trial on November 7, 2003, he was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. The court accepted the prosecution's argument that drug use could not excuse his actions or be grounds for insanity. At one point, Singleton explained his motive, claiming that he believed the end of the world was near and that he needed to kill the devil before it happened.
I mean, all I can remember, the world was going to end, and I had to find the devil and kill the devil before the world ended. That's the last thought that I had.
Max B., case from 2006.
With the blicky chuck, federales tried to hit me.
Max B., whose real name is Charlie Wingate, was convicted in 2009 on charges of conspiracy related to armed robbery, kidnapping, aggravated assault, and felony murder. The case stemmed from a plot involving Max B., his on-and-off girlfriend Gina Conway, and his stepbrother Kelvin Leardam. In September 2006, they conspired to rob two men at the Holiday Inn in New Jersey. However, the robbery did not go as planned, and Leardam ended up shooting and killing one of the men. In 2009, Max B. was sentenced to 75 years in prison. However, in 2016, he struck a plea deal, reducing his sentence to 20 years for aggravated manslaughter. Tay K. Case from 2016. Taymor Trayvon McIntyre, better known as Tay K, began his rap career at the age of 14 and gained widespread fame with his hit song, The Race. The song, which details his escape from law enforcement, became a viral sensation even as he was on the run from police. Why is he in prison? In 2016, Tay K was part of a group of 7 people who carried out an armed home invasion targeting 17-year-old Zachary Belote. However, the robbery went awry, and Ethan Walker, a friend of the homeowner, was shot and killed.
A Tarrant County teenager was convicted of murder this morning for his role in a deadly home invasion robbery. 19-year-old Taymor McIntyre goes by the name TK47 in his online rap videos. He was convicted for his role in the shooting death of 21-year-old Ethan Walker in 2006.
In 2017, TK was placed under house arrest but cut off his ankle monitor and went on the run in March of that year. During his time on the run, TK allegedly committed additional crimes. In April 2017, he reportedly shot and killed 23-year-old Mark Anthony Saldivar during a robbery outside a Chick-fil-A restaurant in Texas. In May 2017, he allegedly robbed and assaulted 65-year-old Oni Skip Pepe in Arlington, Texas, holding him at gunpoint before leaving him unconscious. Tay K was eventually captured on June 30, 2017 in New Jersey. In July 2019, he pleaded guilty to aggravated robbery in the Mansfield case and was found guilty by a jury of murder and another robbery charge. He was sentenced to 55 years for murder, 30 years for aggravated robbery, and an additional 26 years for 2 other robberies. YNW Melly, case from 2019. The criminal case against YNW Melly, real name Jamel Demons, came at a time when his career was skyrocketing. Just a month before his arrest, the 19-year-old artist from the small town of Gifford, South Florida, had released the mixtape We All Shine, featuring Kanye West. His biggest 2017 hit, the chilling single Murder on My Mind, had just been certified gold. In February 2019, YNW Melly was arrested and charged with murder. He and another rapper, YNW Bortlen, were accused of killing two of their friends and staging the crime scene to look like a drive-by shooting. On Instagram, Melly maintained his innocence, posting, "Unfortunately, a lot of rumors and lies are being said, but no worries, God is with me." The post has since been deleted. Police cite phone records that allegedly place Melly at the crime scene. In June 2023, YNW Melly stood trial in Florida, pleading not guilty to all charges. If convicted of first-degree murder, Melly faces the death penalty. OMB Bloodbath, case from 2017. OMB Bloodbath, real name Alexandra Nix, is accused of orchestrating the murder of a rival gang member in October 2017. As a member of the gang's 100% 3rd Ward and 103, she allegedly directed and controlled the murder via phone conversations with her gang members. These phone calls were legally recorded and intercepted by federal authorities. The rapper was arrested in 2020 and remains in jail awaiting her final sentencing. However, this did not stop her from advancing her music career. In 2022, she signed a deal with Love Renaissance under Interscope Records and released an EP titled Remedies to Infinity.
I got a lethal, no need for jumping. Ride like it's legal,
Fujiano, case from 2020. Fujiano, whose real name is Kwame Brown, is a young rapper from Georgia known for his hit song Molly. In 2020, he was arrested in Barrow County, Georgia, for possessing a firearm as a convicted felon, a violation of his probation stemming from a prior burglary conviction. He was released on a $50,000 bond, but removed his court-ordered ankle monitor shortly after. On May 3, 2021, a Georgia judge sentenced Fujiano to 5 years in prison after the rapper admitted to cutting off his GPS monitoring device. Abdul Arab West, case from 2018.
I'ma do the dishes, my roll to the rich.
Philadelphia rapper Arab, real name Abdul West, was arrested in October 2018 and charged with running a local drug trafficking organization under the guise of his label, Original Block Hustlers, OBH. Prosecutors accused the OBH organization of involvement in at least one murder of a rival drug dealer. In April 2021, rapper was sentenced to 45 years in prison. During the sentencing hearing, U.S. District Judge Michael Bailson stated, "You could have been a hero instead of a criminal, but you became a drug dealer. You made that decision. That's why you're being punished." Mystical, arrested in 2022. Mystical, real name Michael Lawrence Tyler, is a rapper from New Orleans with a history of sexual assault accusations and previous imprisonment, during which he was registered as a sex offender. He was arrested again in 2022 after a woman reported being raped at his home. Mystical claimed the woman had stolen $100 from him, which led to a violent altercation. The victim stated she searched for the missing money throughout Tyler's home, hoping it would calm him down. Instead, he raped her, then forced her to transfer money to his account, accusing her of theft. After the assault, the woman went to a hospital where her injuries were documented. During a search of Tyler's home, authorities reportedly found various drugs, including methamphetamine, marijuana, Xanax, and heroin. Mystical now faces charges for rape, false imprisonment, and multiple drug offenses. Although his final sentence has not yet been determined, he is at risk of a life sentence. Callan Walker, aka KR, case from 2016.
Stay coming round, but I'm scared.
Callan Walker, known as KR, was arrested in 2018 and charged with a series of sexual assaults on 4 aspiring models whom he contacted via social media under the guise of offering professional opportunities. These incidents occurred in 2016. A month after his arrest, he was released on $1 million bail. In March 2019, Walker was rearrested after 6 additional victims came forward with allegations. Despite the increasing number of accusations, his bail was reduced, and he was released again in November 2020. It's quite strange to reduce bail when it turns out there are more victims. Finally, in October 2022, Walker was convicted and sentenced to 50 years in prison for his crimes. Tory Lanez case from 2020. Tory Lanez, real name Daystar Peterson, was sentenced to 10 years in prison in 2022 after being found guilty of shooting Megan Thee Stallion, real name Megan Pete,
I'm in a competition with his mate. Hoes taking shots, so
in the foot during an argument. The incident occurred on July 12, 2020, after they left a party at Kylie Jenner's house.
So I get out the car and it's like everything happens so fast. And all I hear is this man screaming, he said, dance, and he started shooting. And I'm just like, oh my God. Like he shot a couple of times. And I was so
is he
scared.
in the car shooting from the car, Megan?
He is standing up over the window shooting.
Megan required surgery to remove bullet fragments from her foot. Prosecutors initially sought a 13-year sentence, while Lanez's defense requested probation and a residential substance abuse program, citing his struggles with alcoholism stemming from childhood trauma. Lanez denied the charges but was convicted in December 2022. During sentencing, Tory Lanez delivered a statement in court saying, "That night was a night that everyone was drunk. I said some very immature things. If I could turn back the series of events, I would, but I can't. I did wrong that night, and I take full responsibility and culpability for it." However, Lanez later posted on Instagram, clarifying his comments. "In no way, shape, or form was I apologizing for the charges I'm being wrongfully convicted of. I remain on the stance that I refuse to apologize for something that I didn't do." Prosecutors accused Lanez of attempting to intimidate Megan Pete over the 3 years leading up to his conviction, stating, "Women, especially black women, are afraid to report crimes like assault because they are too often not believed." Despite his incarceration, Tory Lanez has continued his music career. His track, Wish I Never Met You, Prison Tapes, has charted on Billboard. Glock 9, case from 2020. Glock 9, real name Jaquavius Smith, is a Florida-based rapper known for songs like 10%, 223s, featuring YNW Melly, and 1 Minute. In August 2018, Smith signed a deal with Cash Money Records, reportedly worth $2 million. The rapper's legal troubles began as early as 2015, ranging from illegal possession of firearms and drugs to the use of said firearms. In October 2020, he was arrested for carrying a concealed weapon and involvement in a shooting at the mall at Millenia in Orlando. Additionally, he fraudulently applied for and received $10,000 from the Federal Paycheck Protection Program. Furthermore, the Florida rapper faced charges of second-degree attempted murder for allegedly firing a gun at a house in Orlando in July 2020. In July 2021, he pleaded guilty, and in December, he was sentenced to over 7 years in federal prison and fined $10,400 in restitution. Following the sentencing, he was ordered to undergo supervised release and substance abuse treatment for 3 years. Pooh Shiesty, case from 2020. Pooh Shiesty, real name Lontrell Williams, was sentenced in 2022 to more than 5 years in prison after pleading guilty to conspiracy to possess and distribute firearms. The charges stem from a shooting he was involved in at a Miami residential complex parking lot in October 2020, which was captured on camera. he was initially released on bail. However, in June 2021, Pooh Shiesty was arrested again for his involvement in another shooting at a Miami strip club where he was performing. After his second arrest, federal charges were filed against him for the first shooting, and his bail was revoked. Although he initially pleaded not guilty in 2021, following his second arrest, he admitted guilt for the first charge. He posted a defiant message on Instagram. "I still remain untouched and unf***wittable, still talking my shit like I'm 8'3", still popping king shots, still having my way like king, eating like a king and thinking like a winner. Ain't got changed, but how my clothes get washed and how the doors getting locked." After receiving a 5-year sentence, 1 year of time served was credited, allowing him eligibility for release in 3.5 years. Kid Creole, case from 2017. Kid Creole, real name Nathaniel Glover, is a member of the pioneering hip-hop group Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five.
Of mind, blind to the ways of mankind.
It is clear that by the time of the murder, Glover's music career had long since declined, but he made a significant contribution to the history of early hip-hop as a member of the Furious Five. So, what did this man do to receive 16 years in prison? In 2017, a homeless man named John Jolly was stabbed to death, twice in the chest with a steak knife, after Kid Creole became enraged, believing that Jolly was a gay man hitting on him, according to former rapper's lawyer. The judge did not believe the defendant's claim of self-defense. "You didn't know him," she told him in court. "You didn't know that he had a history of violence or was a sexual offender. Those things were not known and don't have much relevance in terms of anybody's action in this case." So, in 2022, the rapper was convicted of murdering the homeless man. "A life is a life, whether the person is homeless, whether the person is a CEO," said Manhattan Supreme Court Justice Michelle Rodney. Fetty Wap, case from 2019. Fetty Wap, real name Willie Jr. Maxwell II, is a rapper from New Jersey who gained fame with his hit Trap Queen, a song that romanticizes the world of drug dealing. The rapper was arrested in October 2021 and charged, along with 5 co-defendants, with conspiracy to distribute over 100 kilograms of heroin, fentanyl, and crack cocaine from the West Coast to Long Island between June 2019 and June 2020. The scheme allegedly involved using the U.S. Postal Service and hidden compartments in vehicles to transport drugs to the East Coast, where they were stored. In August 2022, he was taken back into custody after a judge revoked his $500,000 bail, following an incident in which the rapper pulled out a firearm and threatened to kill someone during a FaceTime call in 2021, violating his pre-trial release conditions. Fetty Wap pleaded guilty to the main charge of drug distribution, which spared him from a potential life sentence. In 2023, he was sentenced to 6 years in prison for his involvement in the drug trafficking conspiracy. His lawyer, Elizabeth Macedonio, possibly a former comedian, stated that Mr. Maxwell supported many relatives and children and needed money to provide for them after live entertainment stopped due to the pandemic. The rapper himself expressed remorse for his actions. "I hurt my community, people who look up to me," he said, "my family and myself. I am truly sorry for any pain I caused." Lul G, case from 2019.
When I slide, bitches game time, touch the wrong chain with the
Lul G, real name George Harris, was charged with first-degree murder after being arrested in September 2019 for his involvement in the killing of Flowers on July 24, 2019. According to witnesses, Harris and others gathered at Flowers' house to film a music video. During the gathering, the group started gambling, and Lul G, allegedly under the influence of cocaine, lost money to Flowers in a dice game. A heated argument ensued, almost escalating into a fight, when Lul G pulled out a gun and shot Flowers in the abdomen. A witness transported Flowers to a local hospital, where he succumbed to his injuries. Initially, Lul G pleaded not guilty,
No mind, bitch, she bad as fuck. I bet I could get a nigga found,
but later changed his plea to guilty, avoiding a jury trial and the potential of a first-degree murder conviction that could have carried a sentence of 25 years to life. In May 2023, he was sentenced to 21 years in prison. Casanova, case from 2020. Casanova, real name Caswell Sr., a Brooklyn rapper once signed to Jay-Z's Roc Nation, was among 18 individuals charged in 2020 for their alleged involvement with the untouchable Gorilla Stone Nation gang. Prosecutors accused the gang of committing horrific acts of violence throughout the New York region. In 2023, Casanova was sentenced to over 15 years in prison on charges of racketeering and drug trafficking tied to the gang. Caswell Sr. is not just a notorious recording artist, but he is also a high-profile leader of a vicious street gang and a magnet for gang violence, said U.S. Attorney Damian Williams. He added that Casanova's celebrity status helped the gang recruit and expand across the country. Sue Surf, case from 2017. Sue Surf, real name Rajan Cox, was sentenced to 5 years in prison without parole for his role in a racketeering conspiracy and firearm possession. He also received 3 years of supervised release and a $15,000 fine. Sue Surf pleaded guilty to all charges against him. From 2015 through September 2022, Cox was a member of the Rollin 60s Neighborhood Crips, a criminal enterprise responsible for acts of violence and the distribution of controlled substances in New Jersey and elsewhere, reads the press release. Cox held a leadership role within the enterprise. On March 18, 2017, Cox shot a firearm at a gang rival. K-Flock, case from 2021. When K-Flock, real name Kevin Perez, signed with Capitol Records, the music industry buzzed with excitement over the Bronx drill rapper's limitless potential. His style was sharper, cleaner, and more melodic than that of his Bronx drill contemporaries. However, his rise was abruptly halted on December 16, 2021, when Oscar Hernandez was fatally shot near a barbershop in New York. What began as a shooting that K-Flock's lawyer claimed was self-defense spiraled into far more than a single charge. Since his arrest, court proceedings have been repeatedly delayed, and federal authorities have built a much more serious case against him than initially expected. In late February 2023, just over 2 years after his surrender, K-Flock was hit with RICO charges. Authorities accused him and 7 others of running the Sevside/DOA gang based in the Bronx. K-Flock is still awaiting trial for the murder charge. Unfunk, case from 2022. Unfunk, real name Quantavious Greer and the brother of rapper Young Thug, was sentenced to 9.5 years in prison in 2023 for violating the terms of his probation. Initially, Unfunk was among 26 members of YSL, including Young Thug, arrested on RICO charges in Atlanta on May 9, 2022. In December 2022, he pleaded guilty to conspiracy to violate the RICO Act and theft by receiving stolen property, agreeing to a plea deal that secured his release. However, just 5 months later, he was arrested during a traffic stop when police found a firearm in his car, violating the terms of his plea agreement. Honeycomb Brazy, arrested in 2023. At the end of 2023, Honeycomb Brazy was arrested along with his bodyguard during a traffic stop on I-65 in Mobile, Alaska. The vehicle contained several firearms, leading to charges of firearm possession by a prohibited person and possession of a controlled substance. The rapper was prohibited from owning firearms due to 4 felony convictions: first-degree robbery and first-degree assault in 2013, a conviction for illegal firearm possession in 2019, a marijuana possession conviction in 2021. In the summer of 2024, Honeycomb Brazy pleaded guilty to the charges, simplifying the sentencing process. His attorneys and prosecutors jointly recommended a sentence of 2.5 to 3.5 years in prison. Bankroll Freddie, sentenced in 2024. Arkansas rapper Freddie Bankroll Freddie Gladney was arrested in 2022 on charges of conspiracy to distribute and possession with intent to distribute marijuana and possession of firearms to facilitate a drug trafficking crime. The arrest occurred when Gladney was pulled over by Arkansas State Police for speeding. The officer smelled marijuana coming from the vehicle and asked Gladney to step out. A search of the car revealed multiple firearms, a duffel bag containing 21.4 pounds of high-quality marijuana, and $33,000 in cash. In April 2024, Gladney was found guilty and sentenced to 12.5 years in prison. Lil Durk, case from 2022.
All my life.
In 2024, Lil Durk was arrested in connection with a 2022 contract killing. Federal authorities accused the rapper of putting a bounty on Quando as retaliation for the death of Durk's artist, King Von. King Von was shot and killed by Quando's associate Timothy Lul Tim Leaks following a brawl outside a lounge in Atlanta in November 2020. At the time of Lil Durk's arrest, 5 Chicago men allegedly associated with the rapper's Only the Family collective were also detained and charged with committing the murder, which occurred at a Los Angeles gas station. Authorities allege that Lil Durk funded the hit using money from his record label and traveled to Los Angeles on a private jet with one of the suspects the night before the shooting. Lil Durk was apprehended on his way to the airport, where he was heading to catch a flight to Italy. After his arrest, the rapper faced 2 additional charges, escalating his legal troubles and potentially exposing him to a life sentence. Dougie B, case from 2024. Dougie B, real name Arian Howard, and 4 accomplices were charged with robbing a 33-year-old man and his 5-year-old son at gunpoint in an apartment during the summer of 2024. They were not apprehended until September, after another robbery in which they allegedly threatened a victim with a knife and stole $500 from his digital wallet. Dougie B was denied bail, and if convicted, he faces up to 25 years in prison. Tekashi 69, arrested again in 2024. Tekashi 69, real name Daniel Hernandez, was initially arrested in 2019 on charges of gang-related racketeering, possession of firearms, and drugs. He was sentenced to 2 years in prison and 5 years of probation, but he was released early in 2020. However, his probation period didn't go smoothly. In October 2024, Tekashi 69 surrendered to authorities after violating the terms of his probation. The rapper was accused of performing in Las Vegas without prior approval, testing positive for methamphetamine, and skipping another mandatory drug screening. Despite prosecutors requesting a lighter sentence, the judge sentenced him to 1.5 months in jail. The judge criticized rapper during sentencing, saying, "Your breach of the court's trust is profound. 5 violations say to me that you believe the rules don't apply to you. Maybe you believe that because you're a famous rapper, Tekashi 69?" Rapper admitted guilt, stating that he did not want to return to prison. Blueface, sentenced in 2024. Blueface, real name Jonathan Porter, was sentenced to 4 years in prison in 2024. However, due to 400 days already served, his sentence was reduced to 3 years. The case stemmed from a series of offenses over several years. In 2021, Blueface assaulted a security guard at a lounge in North Hollywood. His manager, Whack 100, managed to negotiate probation for him multiple times over the years. But Blueface violated probation after being caught with drugs. The judge, citing repeated violations, imposed the maximum sentence despite earlier leniency. June 2023. Arrest in Las Vegas. Blueface was charged with robbery after allegedly taking a woman's phone at the Palms Casino on May 29th. He faced charges related to a separate incident involving attempted murder in October 2022. Meanwhile, Blueface's girlfriend and the mother of his child, Chrisean Rock, is also serving time in Oklahoma on drug possession charges. She was extradited from California for violating her probation. Together, their legal troubles have drawn considerable media attention, highlighting their turbulent relationship. YFN Lucci, case from 2021. YFN Lucci, real name Rayshawn Bennett, turned himself in to the Fulton County Sheriff's Office in January 2021. He faced charges of murder, gang activity, and racketeering in Atlanta, along with 11 others. After a prolonged trial, in January 2024, Bennett pleaded guilty to violating the Georgia Street Gang Terrorism and Prevention Act. As part of his plea deal, 12 of the 13 charges against him, including a count of felony murder related to the killing of rival gang member James Adams in Atlanta in 2020, were dropped. This allowed him to avoid a life sentence. YFN Lucci was sentenced to 10 years in prison, followed by 10 years of probation. FTO Set, case from 2022. FTO Set, signed to Gucci Mane's 1017 global music label and a cousin of Pooh Shiesty, faced escalating legal troubles. Initially arrested in 2022 on charges of drug and firearm possession and evading arrest, he was released on bail. However, in early 2024, his bail was revoked and an arrest warrant was issued. On November 1st, he was apprehended in an Airbnb in Nashville. He faced a slew of charges, including attempted murder, firearm possession, aggravated assault, theft, and drug possession. It remains unclear whether these charges are all connected to a single incident or multiple events. Diddy, arrested in 2024. After multiple lawsuits in late 2023 and early 2024 alleging verbal, physical, and sexual abuse, Diddy became the subject of a federal investigation. In March 2024, Department of Homeland Security agents conducted searches of his properties in Miami and Los Angeles as part of a human trafficking investigation. In September 2024, Diddy was officially arrested, despite ongoing speculation in the media. It seems the time has come for Diddy to face the consequences of his actions and pay the price for his past deeds. The incredible tragedy of this story is that all these guys could have been role models for their fans by doing good deeds and creating great rap while free, not behind bars. Unfortunately, things are as they are, and it seems impossible to stop this cycle. However, for everyone who loves hip-hop, there's a deep hope that one day this troubling trend will change. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell. You can also write a comment in the comment section down below. See you later on the Top Art Legends.